This is Chasing the Cutoff with Troy Eid. Conversations with professional people age 40 and older who balance busy careers with excellence in endurance athletics and extreme sports. From Denver, Colorado, here's Troy Eid.
Welcome to Chasing the Cutoff. I'm Troy Eid, coming to you from Denver, Colorado, and with me today is Echo Parkhurst, a member of the great Navajo Nation, coming to us from Flagstaff. Good morning, Echo. Yate.
Good morning. Good morning. Oh, Yate.
Echo, introduce yourself, if you would be so kind, in the traditional Denebazad Navajo language way.
Yeah, absolutely. So, She Echo Lee Inishia, Kayenta Dan Nasha, Tetja Dan A Yisi Nasha, Ade Kayenta de Shiran. She Kintlachitnin Shle, Nasha Lebashichin, Hashka Hazo, Dashiche, Do Nasha Dashinale, Ahut the net Sun and Shle. So my name is Echo Lee. I am from Kayenta. I am raised in Rough Rock, but I live in Kayenta now. So my clans are the Red House People clan. I am born for the Oglala Sioux tribe. My maternal grandfather is Yucca Fruit clan, and my paternal grandfather was from the Oglala Sioux tribe. So that is how I am me today.
So Navajo people traditionally introduce themselves with reference to their family in that manner. How has that affected you throughout your life? How does that help you to know who you're dealing with, who you're meeting? What kind of a role does that have in your life?
So it goes, you find out who you're related to by these clans. These clans were made for the purpose of that. We have a large group of people, and we have relations, all over the Navajo Nation. So that's how we find out who we're related to, what group of people we come from. Yeah.
You have had a lot of very interesting and deep experiences. I know we'll talk a bit about your growing up on the Navajo Nation and so on, but I wanted to just lead by saying you are the champion for 2025. You won the 12-hour Navajo Nation Endurance Challenge, a race that's called the 12 Hours of Acai. Congratulations.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
You're quite the ultra runner, and you have become a social media icon in terms of really inspiring people to do fitness and wellness. You have these amazing short videos, and I want you to tell us a little bit about that and how you got to this point. But congratulations on Acai, and I'm really interested in your path as to how you became an ultra marathoner and what your goals are and so on. Have you been running your whole life? Is that something that you did as a child?
You know what? No, not really. I mean, I grew up way before technology, way before iPhones and iPads, right? In the 80s. So I spent a lot of time outside. Other than that, not really. I didn't start running till later in life. It was a way to just, if I was going through something, I'd just go take a walk, or just start jogging or, and then, I struggled a little bit in my adult life, but it was my sobriety that really got me. That's when I really hit the trails.
So as a child, you grew up on Black Mesa, is that right? Or spent a lot of your time with your grandparents?
I grew up in a little town called Rough Rock, which is about 40 miles away from Kayenta. It's at the base of Black Mesa. For
our European and other international audience, where is Kayenta? What is Kayenta?
Oh boy, that's a good question. Kayenta is like close to the border of the Navajo Nation and the Utah state line, actually. So Black Mesa is where the Peabody mine used to be.
Big coal mine.
Yeah, that's what it was mostly known for. But I grew up in a very small community called Rough Rock. And in the 80s, it was nice. It was a very diverse community. People, teachers from all over the place, and the school system, it was a Navajo curriculum education. So that has helped me with my Navajo language, also following my grandparents around. I was with my grandparents more than I was with anybody else. And they only spoke Navajo. And they were elderly by the time I was, just a little girl. My grandfather was blind, but he was a medicine man. So he traveled a lot did ceremonies for people. People came to see him all the time. They had a homestead up in Black Mesa that I'm not sure when they actually left the homestead, but at some point they moved from the homestead up in Black Mesa down to Rough Rock because they needed to be taken care of. So my mom took care of them. So I always lived with them. And my mom was a single mother of 5 kids. So I followed my grandparents around everywhere, growing up in Black Mesa in the summers, running around up there, no running water. We did have electricity. I don't know when they got electricity, but we've had electricity since I was a little girl.
So you grew up out there in part, and you didn't have any running water. And I know that comes as a surprise to some people, but about a third of all the homes in Navajo don't have running water. When did you in your life have access regularly to running water?
Well, down in Rough Rock, we did have it because we lived in the community. We lived in the school housing. My aunt was a teacher. My mom was a substitute teacher and a secretary just throughout my childhood. So they always worked at the school. My cousins became teachers. We were a big part of growing up there in the school system. So we lived in the housing. So we had running water there. But when we went up to the homestead up in Black Mesa, that's where we didn't have running water.
And tell us about Black Mesa. It's a very formidable geographical feature.
Yeah, I really wish I had some pictures to show you. But it's beautiful up there. Just mountains, homesteads scattered here and there. But, there's a little community up there. It's called Kitsili. There's a couple up there. But yeah, it's beautiful up there. Believe it or not, I haven't been up there in a while.
Did your grandparents have livestock up there?
Yeah, they had livestock up there. That was, that's how they all lived up there. Everybody had livestock. And I'm sure my grandparents, I don't know the whole story, but I'm sure they sold something or maybe gave what they had to my aunt who lived right nearby, who stayed up there for many, many years. And we still have the land up there to this day.
It sounds like a good place for a running camp.
Oh, yeah, it would be. It would be a good place to run. Yeah, but I'm terrified of the wild animals. I'd be afraid of a mountain lion because there's nobody up there hardly anymore. My uncle stays up there, but there's probably more animals than people in that area.
I know there are mountain lions up there, and I don't know if you and I talked about it, but I survived a mountain lion attack in 2016, so I know about that, and I know that out in that area of Black Mesa, there are a lot of mountain lions. I've seen pictures of people sometimes have shot them or otherwise when they're feeding on the sheep or otherwise hurting the livestock. So you had this kind of amazing childhood in the 1980s and beyond, where you got to be connected to the land, and you also, it sounds like you had a pretty interesting education as well, and kind of a diverse environment. And in that era, for those who don't know, there were 2 very large coal mines on Black Mesa, and that coal mine was used to power something called the Navajo Generating Station, big coal-fired power plant in Page, Arizona, that was demolished in 2019. And then also there was coal that was slurried in a pipeline with water put in and mixed with the coal and then sent out to the Mojave Generating Station in Nevada. So there was a lot of coal development. What was that like growing up in a community where there was a lot of coal mining going on around you?
Well, it was growing up. There weren't a lot of people that talked about it. Not where I was from. I mean, our relatives or our friends, their parents worked there at the mine, and that's how the income was great for these families, but nobody ever talked about the effect it had on the land, on the people that were relocated from there. So I really I wasn't educated about all of that until way later in life.
So when did you finish up in high school? Did you finish up in Rough Rock?
No, I didn't. I lost my grandmother. I lost my grandfather first when I was a teenager. I lost my dad, who was never really in my life anyway. And I kind of had a rocky, I was a rebellious teenager. So I left school and I just started working at a really young age.
As you think about your journey now, you've spent the last 4 years really focusing on fitness, and you got into running. How did you get into running? What was that all about?
Well, I've always, I guess, liked just going out there and hitting the trail out back. And it was just something about, being out there until I was so exhausted or just getting so tired. It was like the accomplishment of it, coming home like, oh my God, I just ran 2 miles. That's what it was at the beginning, And then it was just COVID hit, and I got sober, and I just started getting out there every single day. And I went through these, it helped me. It helped me mentally, emotionally, and it really helped me with my sobriety. So
you mentioned your sobriety. So it's been 6 years since what was the catalyst that caused you to make changes like that in your life?
Just the very beginning of COVID, everything got so scary, and not being able to visit our family, that was really hard. My daughter was a senior going to school in Flagstaff, staying in the dorms at the time. So it was all these tough decisions, like one of us went shopping every day. The rest of us didn't leave the house. And I made a decision to bring my kids home, and they came home, and I sheltered in place with them. And it was really tough. And it was so scary because I couldn't go to my mom's house and give her a hug. I couldn't see my niece who we all helped take care of ever since she was a newborn. It was really tough, and I had a really hard time with it. And I just started taking walks during that, and I have all these clips of oh my gosh, I have an hour before curfew because we had curfew hour, and I started getting out there more earlier every day, and I started running, and yeah.
Were you living in Kayenta, or where were you living at that time?
Yeah, in Kayenta.
Again, for those who may not know, Navajo Nation and some other parts of Indian country were especially hard hit by COVID. The mortality rates were huge. I was president of the Navajo Nation Bar Association during that time, and we lost 17 members died of COVID out of an organization of about 600 members. We lost 17 members in about an 18-month period. And then we had one guy later, Peterson Wilson from Tuba City, died later of long COVID. Almost 2 years after he contracted it, he was on a respirator for more than 14 months. It was absolutely the most shocking thing I've ever seen in visiting someone trying to recover. The situation at Navajo and some other parts of Indian country was really extreme in terms of the numbers of people who were really suffering. And I'm sure it was a very difficult time. And you turned to exercise and being outdoors more.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And what was there a person who said you can go from walking and you can actually kind of jump and start running? Or how did you make the jump from walking to running?
I just started running. I mean, believe it or not, in all these phases of my life, it was just me in my own head. It was just me out there. I didn't have a running partner. I didn't have I just went out there and did it. And to this day, it's still, other than Donald and Michelle you see me out there with, I mean, it's just me.
Did you say to yourself, I'm going to run tomorrow and I'm going to go buy a pair of shoes, special shoes for running, or did this just sort of happen one day, or what happened? How did you make that decision?
I went through the crazy shoe thing. I went through every shoe imaginable. I mean, it was tough for me because I had knee problems in the beginning. So it was like, okay, this shoe is making my knee hurt. And it was like that for a while. And then I found my brand and I stuck with that for years. And yeah.
What's your brand now?
It was Brooks in the beginning.
And do you still run in Brooks, or do you run in something else? I can't remember.
I have Ultras now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you moved to Ultras. So yeah, that's bold. That's very bold. That shows how strong your feet are now.
But now I have Ultras to run in. I have Hokas to work in. And then I have Topos. I have Topos for my other job.
So let's talk a bit about then you start running a bit, and then when did you decide to start racing?
Well, let's see. So back in 2014, which was a long time ago, I joined a race across. It was a race across the Navajo Nation. It wasn't a race. It was more of a medicinal thing. They carried a stick. They ran for health and strength, and it started at Toak and it ended at Twin Arrows. That was the first really long run I did because I joined them from Monument Valley to Kayenta, which was the first time I ran that long. And then I joined them again a few days later in Loop, Arizona. And it was kind of this off trail that went to the Twin Arrows. And that was pretty much an ultra. And I did that run.
That was 2014?
Yeah, that was 2014. And then after that, I did like a few halves I did a Rough Rock to Mini Farms. And then I did it again from Mini Farms back to Rough Rock. So I did a few over like a span of like 10 years. But it was 4 years ago that I did the half marathon in Monument Valley. I was probably almost 200 pounds. And I barely survived that one. I barely survived, and I remember my friend telling me at one point, what are you have to keep going, because I wanted to just give up. And she was like, you have to keep going. They can't even come get you. Even if you just sit down right here, we're not even on a road. You have to get out of here. So I was like, okay. Forced myself. I got it done. I probably did it in like 4 hours, and it was a half marathon. But it was hard. It was tough.
The hard course for your first half marathon in a race.
Yes.
It's a hard course.
Yes.
That was actually my very first half marathon on a trail in an officially sanctioned race.
Were you there then?
No, this was years before. So
okay,
years before, back when I wasn't quite as slow. So the first time I ever ran it, I was second place overall. And
oh wow,
I was chasing a guy for almost 8 miles, and I almost got him. But I miscalculated. He was about 100 feet ahead of me by the time he got up on top of the rim and went across the finish line. But I was sold on the whole concept of running at Navajo. That was my very first, other than Shiprock Marathon. That was the very first trail race I ever did at Navajo. And it was the very first year that they had the race too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a beautiful place.
That's what got me going after that. I was like, okay, I'm ready for another one.
So you really had a journey. So are you telling me that 4 years ago you weighed 200 pounds?
Yeah, I was very close to 200 pounds. Yeah.
And I'm a gentleman, but I guess maybe I'll not be a gentleman for a second. What do you weigh now? You're not 200
about
pounds.
150, sure. Like 150.
That's amazing. So that is absolutely amazing. Yeah, because you're in phenomenal shape, and anyone who looks at your short videos can talk about that, because it's quite remarkable.
Thank you.
So you had your first trail half marathon, and did you then, having pushed yourself through that pain and made it to the end and achieved your goal, did you then say, I'm hooked on this and I'm going to do it again the next time they have it? Or what was your thought process like?
Yes, for sure. I was like, okay, when is the next one?
What do you think that's about?
I don't know. I don't know. I was hooked. I was exhausted. I was in pain. I have no idea what it was about all of that I was like, I want to do it again.
What happened next? What did you do next then? Did you train for another race right away? Or?
Well, after that, we started following the race series pretty much.
The NavajoYES race series.
Yeah, yep. And then I started signing up for the Salt Lake City Marathon. I did that a couple times. The rock and roll half, I started doing those, but I pretty much, minus a few, have followed the race series ever since.
And for those who don't know, the NavajoYES race series, you can go to NavajoYES, and there are races that are, many of them are in the Navajo tribal parks, which are beautiful. Places like Monument Valley or Nasasan, Navajo Mountain. And the Shiprock Marathon is there too, which is a top 10 rated marathon in the United States by Runner's World, and is a road marathon. They have a half as well. It's a wonderful, wonderful race. Sometimes as many as 5,000 people gather in Shiprock for the races there. It's the second biggest marathon in New Mexico. And it sounds like you have been able to run both roads and trails. Is that right?
Yes. And I have two different shoes for those.
Do you prefer one to the other? Because you're fast, obviously, on both. So.
Well, I go for a more cushiony shoe on the pavement, one specifically for pavement, and then I do like the Ultra or the Topos for a trail. Yeah.
And do you like road running better than trail running, or the other way around?
Absolutely not.
You're a trail runner.
I'm a trail runner. I love the trails. Yeah.
So you just are coming off running the Monument Valley 50K.
Yes.
Tell us about that race. We were both in that race. We saw each other. So
yeah, it was amazing. I was looking for you. I thought we would pass each other way sooner. I was surprised. But I felt really good compared to last year. It was kind of strange because I felt like I was slower than I was last year, but I felt better in terms of energy, and my knees didn't give me any problems at all. I went up and down Mitchell Mesa so easily. It was amazing. I really struggled last year, but I loved it. It was cool.
Mitchell Mesa is a butte, a mesa that's very steep walled, that has a supposed trail, but it's actually more of a scramble all the way to the top. And it's probably about a 700 foot, maybe vertical, maybe 800 feet from the valley floor. Is that about right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it was straight up
Pretty
rubble.
intense climb. Rubble. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought it was, I had done that race before, but it had been a number of years. And I thought it was much harder with all the avalanches that they'd had. There were just a lot more rocks everywhere.
It was definitely worse than it was last year. Yeah. I had heard stories about that just in the previous years.
And then it was snowing. One year I ran that race, it was snowing hard during the race. And there was a sandstorm another year. This year was just beautiful. It was just hot, beautiful, dry. So
yeah, very thankful.
So, is that your favorite race, or do you have a favorite race at Navajo?
You know what? I do like that one, but it's a toss-up between that one and the Navajo Mountain 50K.
So tell us about that race. That's a unique place, even at Navajo.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It is beautiful. And I had never really been there until I started doing that race. And I started doing the 10 miler. So they have like the 5K, the 10 miler, and the 50K. Nothing else in between. But we would go and do the 10 miler. And one year I was like, you know what? I'm going to do the 50K. And it took a lot from me. It was, I struggled, but I did it again the next year and I did better.
Well, and so tell us about that race. How do you describe it? It's such a unique race. There's nothing else like Navajo Mountain.
Oh yeah. You're just running through a mountain, and you never actually hit a crazy incline. You're just kind of gradually going up, and it's so beautiful. You're literally just running through trees,
This is one of the most spectacular places in the Four Corners,
Yeah.
Navajo or Navajo Mountain. And if you actually fly on a commercial flight from, say, Phoenix to Denver, you can always see it out the window on one side of the plane or the other because it's a 10,000-foot mountain that's all by itself. There's nothing near it. And so it just dominates the whole landscape. And it's up above Lake Powell. So when you get up on the side of it, if you go high enough, you can actually see Lake Powell way down below. It's just magnificent.
Yes. Yeah, the views are crazy. Yeah.
A lot of water too. There's actually there are canyons that have water year round, which is kind of unusual for some parts of the Navajo Nation. There's quite a bit of water year round, so it's beautiful. A lot of beautiful trees and vegetation and so on. Pretty in the fall when that race always happens in October. The leaves are always changing.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it again this year.
You're going to do it this year?
Yes.
See, that's great. What other races do you have planned?
Well, I might last minute do the Salt Lake City Marathon, which is in April, which is next month. But I'm signed up for the Shiprock Marathon.
Awesome.
Yeah,
so two road marathons in a row. How do you work road running and trail running into your training schedules each week? Because I want to talk to you about your training. Do you run on roads and trails each week, or how do you do it?
I really don't do road very much. I just hit the trails. I hit the trails right out back behind my house. There's a nice trail that runs along the airport. It's like a couple miles straight down on a very maintained road. And then you can just hit this other road and it'll link you to this, what I call a utility road, because it follows the power lines. And it just goes straight out towards Church Rock. And if you go as far as you can past Church Rock, you hit like a homestead. So you hit a fence, you can't go any further. And that's exactly 10 miles. So that was like, dirt? Yeah, that was my training road. I would run out there and run home, and that's 20 miles right there.
Wow, that's amazing. So what's your mileage like as you have two road marathons in pretty quick succession, Salt Lake and Shiprock? What's your mileage like mileage volume during the week?
Oh, you know what? Lately, with my working out and both my jobs and school, I'm hardly out there. Yeah. I wish I could be out there more, but that's why I get up at 4:30 a.m. and I work out. The
videos don't lie. You're out there working out though every day. I see videos.
In the dark. Yep.
In the dark. So what is your workout schedule like in addition to running? How are you cross training?
Well, so I go to work pretty early in the morning for one of my jobs, and that's what I look forward to is my workout in the morning. So I wake up and I get out there and it's still dark and I do my squats. I've been really concentrating on my core a lot lately. And trying to get those squats in, so that's at least something. If I can't get out there and run, I'm going to do like hundreds of squats a week.
You're leading the life now. You're working a couple of jobs and talk about those. And then you're going to school and getting your master's in social work. Is that right?
Right now I'm earning my AA in social work.
Oh, awesome. Your AA. So talk about that. So where are you studying that?
I am studying at Diné College, which is on the Navajo Nation. Yeah. So I should have my degree next year. Right now I do work 2 full-time jobs. So it's tough. It's a struggle, but I get it done.
So how do you work in your training with that? I mean, that's just a lot of activity, a lot of time on your feet too, right? You're on your feet.
Yeah, so. I'm on my feet all day long. I'm on my feet. I work at a gas station in the morning and I'm standing there all day long. I'm constantly moving. And then I'm a waitress in the evening. So I'm getting my steps in the evening as well.
So we had on this podcast a guest named Hazel McWillie, who's originally from the Philippines and lives in London. And I met him in the Race Across Scotland, 215-mile race. And he trains as a mailman in London. He literally is walking 50,000 steps a day, delivering packages up and down those kind of walk-ups that are common in London. And he's carrying heavy boxes and he's carrying mail and he's carrying a mail bag. And, he's able to do some training on the weekends, that's outside of his mail route, but the core of his successful ultramarathon training is as a mailman in London, postman, as they call them there. So, what do you think about being on your feet all day long? I mean, it's not a joke. It really is a form of training to be on your feet like that for such a long period of time. And you're moving around in both instances.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's it's a true testament to your endurance, that's for sure. If standing there all day long for 8 hours, and then in the evening we get very busy at the restaurant. So, we're constantly moving, carrying things, balancing things. Yeah, for sure. It's a lot. It's a lot of it too. It's why I'm a good runner. That's why I can be out there for 8 hours doing a 32-mile race.
Do you think about sometimes when you're actually out running, does it seem easier to you than doing that?
Yeah,
in
for
its own way?
sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Some days I'm like, I would rather run in this heat out in the desert than go to work today. Yeah, for sure. So running is way easier.
How did you pick social work as something you wanted to study?
You know what? I think my sister is my inspiration in a lot of ways. She's my she's everything to me. My older sister, she's always, giving me advice. Lately, she's been my mentor with my Navajo language classes, and she got her degree in psychology, but she worked for Access at one point, and she's a medical assessor right now. And I just kind of felt a pull towards wanting to help people. And especially with my lived experiences, I think I could help struggling families, young parents, and who have kids who are struggling. I'm not sure exactly where I want to be, but I know I want to help people. Whether it's a social worker at a school or at Children and Family Services or at a recovery center. I mean, I'm open to all of that, but I just know I want to help people.
And Access is there, isn't a cost containment system as part of Medicaid, right, in Arizona?
Yeah. Yep.
Do you think that you'll continue to live? Will you live in the Navajo Nation, do you think, when you get your degree? Will you still want to live there? Or will you go somewhere else, do you think? What are your plans?
I'm not sure yet. I was very sure about staying there in Kayenta, but I'm open to helping kids anywhere. We have kids struggling in the city, and they could use some help. Maybe reconnect them to our roots even, and that might help.
So you're a mom. How many kids do you have?
I have 2 kids.
You have 2 jobs and 2 kids, and
Yeah.
you're getting a degree at the same time, and you're winning the 12 hours of acai endurance race, and you're running all these marathons. So what keeps you grounded? How are you able to balance all of that? There's a lot of activity.
Gosh, my kids are on my mind all the time. My kids are adults and they live on their own, and I'm at my daughter's apartment right now. But they both live in Flagstaff, basically across the street from each other, which is like every mother's dream. I have one grandchild, and they are all my driving force. I got sober before my grandchild was born. I made a promise that he would never see that broken version of me, and I will live my life being there for my kids 100%. And everything I do is for them. It's for myself, and it's, to have a better quality of life than I had before. And that's what I want to do, is be there for my kids.
Let me ask you some more about endurance exercise that you are so proficient at in sobriety. I have a weightlifting coach I have for many years. Nick Barretto is his name, and he's also a massage therapist. And he's the only reason I can still run at age 62 is Nick. And we did a workout on Friday, this last Friday, and we were doing the sled, the crazy sled, dragging around a weighted sled in the gym with a waist belt and then pushing it and doing high rocks kinds of workouts. And he happened to look at his phone because he was timing us on some of the things that we were doing. And he realized at that moment he got an alert that he had been 550 days without a drink of alcohol, no alcohol in 550 days. So we went out and had a nice celebration, to commemorate that. And for him, it was jujitsu. Jujitsu has really changed his life. He just is an extremely proficient. He joined a jiu-jitsu club, and he's in that gym, 5 or 6 days a week in the jiu-jitsu gym, and he's working out constantly when he's not in the gym. And he's just changed his whole, knowing Nick for so many years, he's just changed his whole lifestyle in such a dramatic way. And he's just so much happier. He looks great. He's lost a ton of weight. He always was muscular, but now he looks like he walked out of central casting or something. So how do you, for those who are listening or watching and many people, are having struggles, how do you start? What's the first thing you do when you are going to make a commitment to be sober and you're going to stick with it? How did you do it? What can you tell people about that?
Well, it takes a lot of self-reflection. That's what it took for me. I'm sure I did the whole, I'm going to do it this time for you guys, to my kids, I'm going to do it for my family. I'm going to do it. But it really is true when they say you have to want to do it for yourself. And it's such a simple thought, but it's not something you actually think about. Like, you want to do it for yourself so that you can be there for your kids, it goes deeper than I'm going to get sober for my kids. No, I'm going to get sober for myself and be healthy so that I can be there for my kids, and that was what it was for me. And then the news of my grandbaby being, coming into this world was just like, that is what really just set it in stone. And I was like, I've got to do this. My kids, something. And then, and it's crazy. COVID did a lot to me, my thinking, just the way I saw things. And it was like, I lost a sister during COVID. She was my aunt's daughter, but we grew up in the same house with my grandparents. So that's how a lot of families lived back then. There's a lot of us in one house, and that's how we lived. So, and she was gone just like that. And she was like the most successful next to my oldest sister. I mean, she just had a baby. She had her own house. She had a good career. And she was gone just like that. It was a matter of just a couple days. It was crazy. So it was a lot of that really pushed me into becoming better for myself.
And how does running and exercise reinforce sobriety?
Wow. I think I did it in the beginning because it was like, okay, I need to go let off some steam, or I'm getting a little antsy, I'm going to go run. And it really helped calm me. It really helped just exhaust me. And it really felt good. I mean, I can't believe it took me so long to start running. It's just become something I do that I'm able to remind myself what I'm capable of, and that I've survived harder things in life. And it's a way to stay healthy and ensure that I'll be around longer, for my kids, as usual. It's always for my kids.
When you look forward, you've had some real successes in ultramarathoning. What's your sort of dream race? Give me your 3 dream races that you want to run in your life. What do you most want to do in terms of racing for the longer distances?
Oh, I would love to run abroad, to do it somewhere else. That would be awesome.
What would be good? What place?
Maybe I'll do the Scotland one with you one day. But I do have one goal in mind that I know for sure I want to do is, as soon as I earn my degree, I would like to run from the Navajo Nation up to South Dakota, maybe even a little further, just run from one reservation to another,
Yeah. So that's a really interesting idea. That's a very interesting idea. We had Billy Mills was out from Pine Ridge, was at Natsasan one year. I don't know if you knew that he was at that race one year. He just showed up.
Oh, I didn't know.
It was unbelievable. Yeah, I was like, that looks like Billy Mills. And it was Billy Mills. At Navajo Mountain Chapter House, there was Billy Mills, the great 1960 Olympic gold medalist. And there he was. And he's originally a member of Oglala Sioux Nation. And I know you introduced yourself that way as well. So, right?
Yep. And my brother lives up there right now. I've never been up there. So.
Well, that's someplace I'd be interested in talking to you more about. I'm the testifying expert witness right now for the tribe, the Oglala Sioux tribe, and its lawsuit against the U.S. for inadequate law enforcement funding. So I'm the one who goes to court against the United States trying to make the argument that the treaty obligation is being broken by the federal government. We have the same number of police officers in terms of funding that we had 75 years ago. We've got 30 officers. We had 150 officers 10 years ago, but we only have 31, between 29 and 31 at any moment in time right now because there's so little funding. And it's one of the most difficult law enforcement jurisdictions in the United States. So we've have this lawsuit going now for 4 years, and we're getting ready to go to trial this year. And so I go up to Pine Ridge about every three or 4 months, and I usually am out doing police ride-alongs, all-night ride-alongs. A ride-along with police officer Pine Ridge, they're solo, and they're usually between 24 and 30 hours long. So the officer's driving 500 or 600 miles, and it's like running an ultra marathon, but harder because there's so much violence going on around you. So part of my heart is always up at Pine Ridge. Now I'm constantly thinking about Pine Ridge, and I've gotten to know the reservation a lot better over the last roughly 2.5 years. I've been doing this on a regular basis, getting ready for this trial. And I've thought, it's funny that you bring this up, Echo, because I've thought about, wouldn't it be great to run from Denver up to Pine Ridge? As a car ride, it's about maybe a 6-hour drive or so, but you could run it for sure. And the idea of running from Navajo there is actually really intriguing, and that could be very good. I could see that becoming a thing, why not? It's an amazing route. So you think you might do that someday, huh? I
want to do it as soon as I earn my degree.
Wow. Have you thought about routes and so on, or you're just going to wait until?
Not yet, not yet. But yeah, I do want to do it. My older sister is on board with following me so that I'm not out there alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a great idea. Well, you should maybe organize it in some fashion. I've got an RV, so I can help you with some of it.
Oh, nice. Okay.
You'll need to have. I've got a little. It's a Sprinter, so it actually has a little kitchen and it has a flush toilet, and so it's really good for ultra running. It's 26 feet long, so it's not real big, but
nice.
But with an RV it would help. They do the race every year. It's a self-supported race from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. That is kind of a cult race. And if you have an RV and you can support a runner, it could be one runner or a group of runners or whatever, but that's become a thing over the last, several decades to run from downtown Los Angeles, actually from the Santa Monica Pier all the way to the Strip in Las Vegas. So these kinds of road runs that have some trail in them have really become a thing. And you could really do that. That's an exciting concept.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's my goal. That's what I want to do.
That's a great idea. So what else are you thinking about? Maybe not quite as long as running from the great Navajo Nation all the way to the great Sioux Nation. So
that's all I thought about so far.
Do you want to run Boston and New York and the marathon majors? Is that on your radar?
That would be a dream. I don't know if I'm fast enough for that. Don't you? Yeah. That'd be nice.
Well, I think you are. I think you definitely are. So are you excited about Shiprock? You gonna run the full marathon?
I am. I am. I've been doing the past couple years now, maybe 2 or 3 years. It was always the half at first, and then I started doing the full.
For those who don't know, they've changed the route at the Shiprock Marathon. Shiprock Marathon, I think this will be its 41st year, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been around for a long time, but it used to be a race where they'd take you out on school buses, and then you'd have to run to Shiprock, New Mexico from different places, whether it was a marathon or the half marathon. But now it's an out and back. So you actually start in Shiprock and you run uphill for a good almost 6 miles uphill. And it's a grind because you start running uphill and you run uphill. Yep. And then it's up and down, but mostly up. And then you turn around and then you get to come back. And it's a really fast finish because you're running the last 5.5 or 6 miles is downhill. Some of it's fairly steep, so on asphalt. So it's pretty fun. It's a fun race. I love that race. I'm going to miss it this year, unfortunately, because I'm running the Badwater Salt and Sea Race at the end of April, which is an 81-mile race you run with one other person or 2 other people. My friend Chris Hill and I are going to run it. It's got an 8-mile trail section in the middle of it with a 4,000-foot climb on a single-track trail. But the rest of it's on asphalt, and it starts at 300 feet below sea level, roughly in the Salton Sea to the east of San Diego. And then it ends up at the top of Mount Palomar, which is the highest mountain in San Diego County. So it ends up at, roughly 6,000 feet. So it's quite the grind where you're on asphalt, and then you have this technical trail race, and then you come back on the roads, and then you run on the asphalt on a steep road all the way to the top of this mountain. And I'm doing that at the end of April. And then I'm pacing one of my friends, Paul James Johnson, who was on this podcast a couple of weeks ago at the Cocodona 250. I'm doing 2 overnight segments for Paul. And that race is going to happen in the first week in May. That's roughly speaking Phoenix to Flagstaff. So I'm going to be starting in Prescott and running out of Prescott and doing a maybe 16-hour stretch, and then go back to my hotel, sleep for a bit, and then do the next night again with Paul, so that I'm with him for 2 nights. So that's the plan. So I'm going to miss it's the same weekend as Shiprock, so I'm going to miss that. So which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah,
so it is. Will I see you at Acai? Are you going to run the Acai?
For sure. I'm going to do that again. Yeah.
That's in June, probably early June.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is great. So and then you're gonna you mentioned Navajo Mountain in the fall. Are you gonna have time for some other races too? You're gonna do any other road races?
Yeah, I hope so. We'll see what's out there. It just
you're a pretty durable runner. You seem like you race about once a month.
Yeah, I try to. If I was home, I'd have my medals behind me, but yeah, I try to do at least a race every month. I did in January, I did the rock and roll half in Phoenix. I did the virtual half for LCR. So we'll try to get one done every month. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, well, I really appreciate you spending all this time. And
yeah, of course.
Is there just anything else that you want us to know about your plans? How about your dreams about where you want to, in addition to run, where do you want to actually work out? What other countries do you want to go to and actually work out? Is there something you want to learn how to do?
You know what? I'm not really. I'm thinking small these days. I feel like I'm just a little fish in the water, I'm not the elite quite yet, but I'll get there. I want to see, I'm working on myself, and these races that I do, sometimes I struggle, and I just want to do better in them, run a little further, run a little longer. It's not so much about the speed for me. It's just about being able to get out there and see how much I can do in one run,
Well, I've never done this before in these podcasts, but I'm going to make a prediction because this podcast will be up for a long time and the internet is forever, or more or less, right? So I'm going to predict, because you're a young person, I'm going to predict that you're going to have a really stellar ultramarathoning career as you get older. Not that I encourage you to get older quickly, but by way of illustration, when I was in high school, the co-captain of our high school cross country team, which won the Colorado 5A state championship, Her name is Anita Krebs Ortiz. She was just Anita Krebs in those days. But she was a great runner. And then she didn't run. She had kids and she didn't do any of that for years and years. She became a school teacher up in Vail. And then she decided to start competing when she was in her very late 30s. And by the time she was in her early 40s, she actually won the Western States Endurance Challenge, the most prestigious trail run in the United States. She was the first place woman finisher. And she's had this heroic running career that's taken her into her 60s. And she gets better and better and better as she goes. And so I really think that, Echo, you have the potential to be a real champion, as you get through your 40s and into your 50s and beyond. You really have all the attributes to be a really great ultra runner at a really high elite level. So I'm going to predict that's going to happen.
Thank you, because that is my dream. I would love to be an elite runner, I really do. I want to be.
This was your first podcast doing this, and so I wanted to put the marker in.
Yeah, thank you. I was really nervous about it, but yeah, you know what? At the end of the day, I'm a 45-year-old college woman who works 2 full-time jobs, and I try to find the time to work off some energy out there and chase these finish lines, chase the cutoff time, really. I mean, that's basically what I'm doing right now. That's how I got through the 50K, was like, okay, the first cutoff time is at this hour, at this point. That's my first goal. And then it was, okay, second cutoff is there. So I got to get there before that. And then it was just all downhill from there.
Final questions about your Navajo spirituality. Are you a spiritual person? Do you pray when you run?
I'm very traditional. I pray before I run. I haven't always been in touch with my traditional side, but I am these days. I pray before I run. I pray during my run. I mean, I've been doing a lot of praying to the Creator these days. I'm driving down the road and I pray,
Well, it's just such an honor to have the chance to get to know you better. And thank you so much for being on the program.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Hagashech.
Okay. Haggonet, Troy.